What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik of the Fight Guys. I'm also a Forbes contributor, and I want to talk about Claressa Shields. We have talked about her and actually have covered her. I interviewed her a few weeks back, or a month or so back, and even my fellow fight guy Peter Kahn, after getting an opportunity to meet her, he even did a feature, a post on the channel as well. Hope you got an opportunity to see that. But on Saturday afternoon, Claressa Shields dropped a little bit of a bomb on Twitter. Now, this has to be taken with a grain of salt because Claressa has been known to make some statements to to draw a rise out of people and to kind of get people talking and moving around about her. But what she did was she tweeted at about 1:48. It looks like she's in Reno for the Top Rank card. She tweeted, "I'm going to do MMA because the boxing world don't deserve me." And with the oh well emoji, or beats me kind of a thing. So, like I said, we have to take this with a grain of salt. Now, I won't say that this comes completely out of the blue because we discussed this in the interview that was on the channel. I discussed this with Claressa. She talked about taking a year or so to train in the things that she doesn't know in regards to mixed martial arts, like, in her words, kicking and wrestling is what she mentioned. Now, there are a lot more aspects, obviously, to mixed martial arts than kicking and wrestling. So I do think that there is a lot that she need to learn, and I think that it would take much longer than a year for her to be able to even get in any way, shape, or form on an elite level in that sport. It is two different sports. Whether anyone realizes it or not, fighting is not fighting. All fighting is not the same. And just because somebody is great in one combat sport does not automatically mean that they will be great in another. There are also a couple significant impediments that would be in Claressa's way. She is a taller, larger frame fighter for the female division, or for women's combat sports. She stands somewhere between 5'8", 5'9". If you saw her making weight for the fight that didn't happen with Ivana Habazin, she looked very depleted from a physical standpoint to try to make that 154-pound weight cut, right? So if you think about it, the UFC doesn't even have a 154-pound women's division. It doesn't go any higher than 145. That's their featherweight division, and it's struggling to just stay in existence. It's struggling to have enough people to compete in that weight class. I don't think that it is realistic at all or healthy to try to expect for Claressa to make it down to 145, right? And obviously there are other mixed martial arts promotions that she could potentially look to join. There is Bellator, there's One Championship, there is Professional Fighters League, PFL, and all of those promotions would more than likely be more willing to be flexible in regards to bringing in opponents for her to face that would be in or close to her weight class, because there are smaller promotions across the world where there are bigger women that are competing in mixed martial arts. So I don't want to make it seem as though if you weigh more than 145 pounds and you're a woman, there's nowhere in the world for you to do mixed martial arts. But we're talking about Claressa Shields, and we're talking about somebody who has already established himself as the greatest female boxer in the world right now. She's not, if this is a serious comment, she's not transitioning to mixed martial arts so she can go compete in the region for a regional promotion. She's doing this so that she can improve her earning potential, make a bigger statement for women's combat sports. That's one of the biggest things that's very important to her. If you watch our interview, you'll see what I mean. It's very important for her to put women's boxing on the map in a way that it has never been there before. She wants to do that, and she's trying desperately to do it. I think maybe making a few mistakes along the way, but she is 24 years old, and Nobody expects, or no one should expect her to have all of the answers, to have everything figured out right now. I don't think there's anybody in the world who has everything figured out at 24. If you think you do, you will find out shortly that you are wrong. So that also is a benefit for her, though. If she does seriously want to take on mixed martial arts, I think because she is such a good natural athlete, because she does have a fighting base for which to build on, even though it's not the best one. The best base to start mixed martial arts is wrestling. You want to be able to add things on top of the wrestling because that's the one where you need the most years to be as efficient and as effective. And it is the discipline that, as a fallback in mixed martial arts, if you're able to wrestle and grapple, you're able to at least present a threat that can save you more so than purely being a striker. So it's not to say that someone who starts off with a striking base cannot ultimately become a well-rounded mixed martial artist. We see examples to the contrary all the time, but it is not necessarily the ideal thing. But at 24 years old, I think she has enough time if she is allowed to take her time. That's the thing. Is she going to be allowed to take her time? Because she's Claressa Shields, already has a big name. More than likely, someone who signs her, if they did, would want a return on investment relatively soon, so that they would want to put her on some sort of card that can draw some interest. And there is a chance that Claressa could draw more interest in a mixed martial arts environment than she does in boxing for a few reasons. One, there's more interest in women's mixed martial arts than there is in women's boxing. We can argue why, we can say it shouldn't be that way, but that's a fact. Okay. Secondly, there is the novelty effect. We have someone coming from another sport who is a very vocal personality, somewhat controversial in some ways, and they're coming over from another sport to compete in mixed martial arts. That is going to draw some attention as well. So there is something there potentially, but what I think we have to make sure is not being undersold, and I think also Claressa has to make sure that she's not underselling this. The transition that she's talking about making is a significant undertaking. I mean, this is not just show up and you have striking skills and you're going to start mowing people down after a year of practicing wrestling and kicking. That's just not how that's going to go. That's not how it's going to go. Anybody who knows anything about martial arts knows that you don't acquire those skills that quickly, especially at a level where you're able to defeat people who are on an elite level in those disciplines and in multiple disciplines. So that's the thing. But she is a good athlete, a fantastic athlete. She also does have size and power, and I think that she doesn't have that much punching power, or at least it hasn't been displayed in women's boxing, but in women's MMA, it's a different situation. So it's an interesting thing to discuss and to ponder. I wouldn't take it too seriously right now because it's just a tweet, and we all know that people tweet stuff all the time. But because it's a recurring question, and because it's constantly coming up and there's been some discussion around it, and because we know that Claressa isn't really necessarily getting the attention, the love, and the money that she craves in boxing, I think that the more we continue to have this conversation, the more she continues to give some sort of credence to it, the more realistic the idea becomes. So we'll see what happens. That's all I got for you in this one. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.